And good morning. This is Jay. It is the 9th of April, 2020, although days are getting lost these days. I am coming to you from a different angle today. Same location. This is my office at work. That's my backwards. That's my hot pot, doing hot water for coffee over there. That's one of my workstations behind me that I do some extra drafting from. And this is my very, as you know me, very messy desk that I have here. And so I'm thanking you very much for joining me, either if you pop in live sometime or maybe if you come through on the replay. Let me know if you come on the replays. A lot of people are seeing this come out throughout the rest of the day and responding there. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Everybody can't be out and about. And today I'm recording a little earlier than normal, about 7:40 or so. I'm here early because it's a big day happening, a lot of things happening. We're actually taking off for Good Friday. The school is off because it's a school affiliated with the AME Church. So we get off Good Friday. I'm going to intend to take off Good Friday because no one will be in the building. And that means more work at my actual church, unfortunately. But today I got a little fancy and gave you an overlay, gave you a title to show what I'm talking about, and that is Hold Your Tongue. And unfortunately, it doesn't go as smoothly as I want it to. We'll have other software to make that work better, I guess. But very quickly on the subject there. This is going out to a lot of people I know out there, a lot of folks I know and love who follow me and do listen and watch these things who are very bad at holding their tongue, which is a good thing because these are people who say what they want to say what they mean to say the words that they really want people to hear, and things get done. I know a lot of great people that way. A lot of very strong women who are not ones to shy away to the corner on anyone's dime. Trust me. So that is not what we're talking about here specifically. I also want to make note that in the current time with the coronavirus stuff going on, you may or may not seen different stories. I've popped a few stories here or there as I can in my conversation podcast and conversation work on domestic violence being on the rise. Times of stress mean people who are dealing with domestic violence on both ends tend to trigger situations. So, it's in a situation where there's a lot of control being lost, a lot of control being put on, things happen. In a situation where people are being told to shelter in place and not go anywhere, if you're in a controlling relationship, that person who is controlling may do extra to keep you from going places because that's a real time when you're in close quarters and stressed where that might be the time they may think you're going to make a break for it. And in the same situations, those are times when people believe they really need to make a break for it because of situations. So we're not, so if you're in a situation like that, do not hold your tongue. Do not say, let something go. If you're in some sort of situation like that, do what you can to get yourself out of it and tell what's going on. This is more of a getting along type thing. Is if you're in a regular general situation, especially if you're stuck in the shelter in place, sitting in a house with family members that you usually have more time to get away from, dealing with the stress of always being on top of each other and everything being the way it is, everything being a matter of just certain uncertainty. And that's weird to say, certain uncertainty. The only thing we know about right now is we don't know what's happening next. We're not sure what's happening next. Until we do, we can't do anything about it. So right now is not the time to air all the grievances that you've had been holding on to for quite some time and believe that it's your coming to Jesus moment. Although Jesus is coming in a couple days for Easter, this is not your personal coming to Jesus moment with your spouse on why they leave their laundry on the floor every single day. Now is not the time. Tempers don't need to be flared. Stresses don't need to be pushed. Triggers don't need to be triggered. Now is the time when you're dealing with relationships, and these are not relationships that are, like I said, that are dicey, that are in transition, that are really dangerous. Now is the time when you're around people that you love, people that you care about, people that you like, people that you're okay working with. Now is not the time to try to get honest with people. Now is not the time for keeping it real. Now is the time for smiles and head nods and getting over it. My wife and I will use myself as an example for this. My wife and I have a very kind of interesting relationship. If you observe us from the outside, it's comical, literally inside kind of like a sitcom sense. It's funny watching us interact. But the issue is, and I say this knowing that she may see this, is that in order for it to be funny, you have to really accept what's going on and engage it. I don't do a lot of talk about deeper stuff that we do unless something honestly is something that's really made me upset because she gets upset about it. So I don't do a lot of stories about her unless they're on the positive end, to be honest, because she gets a little, be honest at time, and she can be angry in this, and this is one of those hold your tongue moments. She doesn't really like me going into those things. So what happens in a time like this? Well, unfortunately, she also tends to pile on things and doesn't really see them going on. So when things are stressful and things are going on, she, overly does it and doesn't get the joy and funny out of it, and doesn't always understand when she's pushed too many buttons at just the wrong time. So when things get stressful, when things are not so stressful and things are need to be worked out, there are times when we will talk it out. We will metaphorically, not physically, slug it out. We will work things out. When things get really bad and need to be worked on, there are times things happen. When things are just in the microcosm stresses, of like right now, we're not. There is not a lot of personal development and growth going on in the Payne household right now, mostly because there's a little Payne, JJ, who's being in big pain for being whatever. In fact, yesterday when I asked her to do something and she didn't do it, she looked at me and asked me, "Why are you so frustrated?" To which I answered, "Why are you so frustrating?" To which she answered, "I'm not frustrating. I'm adorable." That's what I have to live with. So since I can't take it out, obviously, on the 7-year-old, I can't take it on anyone else in the house. We're doing a lot of just sort of sheltering in place in the mind. We're doing a lot of holding our tongues. We're doing a lot of just kind of smiling and walking away and decompressing in our own ways right now, because right now is really kind of scary, interesting, not fun, interesting, scary, interesting what's going on. For those of you who've known me for a longer period of time, it's those of you that have actually worked with me, essentially, you will hear me say the words, I work well with everyone, especially with people I don't like very much. You will hear me say that. In fact, I say that in interviews when asked about your temperament, my temperament. I will tell people I can work well with anyone. I can work well in stressful situations with people that I don't particularly get along with. Here are some examples, because I've worked in high pressure situations. My Air Force job wasn't so much high pressure, but there was a lot of things going on, and you have to deal with literally, maybe not literally my end, but it's the whole foxhole situation thought process. In radio, in that case, it was not life or death, but live fire exercises all day long. And even though you really did not get along with, and sometimes really hated your coworkers, you got things done. It's what happens. It's how it goes. And situations like that are situations where when you're live and things are going on, especially when it's something like it's some sort of breaking news coverage. We did an extensive storm coverage, and where we sent people out, did stuff like that. And there's a lot of yelling and screaming and back and forth. Election coverage nights are some of those nights when people are looking for things and people want things, going back and forth. And sometimes just random days. I've been in times where the news guy has rushed out of the news booth and tried to choke the lead anchor, because the lead anchor read the wrong part of the script and read the news guy's news before he got on the air. I've seen stuff like that happen. At 3 a.m. when there's no coffee, things get really, really weird. Most of those situations play themselves out until they get big, but most of those situations are also hold your tongue moments. You get through what you get through, and then you deal with it later. If it's a long talk, it's a long talk. If it's have a beer and stress it out or work it out, have a beer and work it out. It's really, really, really weird right now. I got a comment coming up from a man, Sean Big O, saying basically agreeing with me about the married life and married life right now. Sometimes, and he's a guy that also he runs a podcast, very popular podcast. Shout him out since we've been talking about shouting out peoples and crafts. Look for In the Black podcast wherever your podcasts are found. It's a podcast that happens to be moderated by three black guys, but it's not necessarily a black guy podcast. In fact, if you listen to it, you will see how open they are to respondents and how open they are to the questions coming in. So check him out. I'll try to pop that in the comment here, going back and forth. That's In the Black podcast with the crew there, and so I'm very proud of the stuff they're doing, and wish I could be doing as well as they're doing, to be totally honest. But going back to the working thing, people who know me know that the people that I don't get along well with, I can work well with, and people that I do get along well with, I can get along well with, and most people can't tell the difference. And those that do, just let it go. They hold their tongue. There are people I've worked with in radio that I can't sit in the room with for more than 5 minutes, but because we're split between glass, I can work with them for 4 or 5 hours. It's just what it is. But we work well together because it's about business. It's about getting things done, doing the thing. And we don't have to have conversations back and forth. You don't have to be pals. You'd be surprised how many of your favorite teams in entertainment, in news, and those type of things don't really like each other. There'll be plenty of big time for football quarterback and wide receiver teams, or quarterback and running back combinations, where they don't get along, or not so much they don't get along. They just don't talk. They're not really boys. One of the big things that was a surprise to me back in the day, because I was a big Karl Malone fan, was that Karl Malone and John Stockton weren't really boys. They were like the greatest combo in sports, but they didn't really hang out. They didn't really talk. They didn't really have much in common, except they played on a basketball team. They were very, very good, and they had the desire to win. If they had some sort of beef, nobody really knew, because it just looked like it worked out there. Whatever they did, they held their tongue in those situations and moved on. A story that popped up today, actually, I hope I'm saying it right, but no, I'm not going to say it right. So I'm saying Jerry Stackhouse, but I don't think it was Jerry Stackhouse. There was someone who played with Jordan with the Wizards, and they were upset. It was his first year back with the Wizards, and they were upset because the scheme of the play changed to run more things through Michael Jordan, because he's Michael Jordan. And what happened, he ended up being the higher scorer for the year by about a point. He's averaged like 21.5, and Jordan was 20.5 for the team. But he was upset because he was in his prime. He was ready to take off, and Jordan was obviously on a decline. But still, Jordan was 40 years old, so he's obviously wasn't the same guy that won any of the 6 championships before. And it was a situation where he thought he should have shined more. Things should work more through him. They could have been more successful because he was stronger, better, younger. He held his tongue until 20 years later. It's things like that. Sometimes you don't need people knowing all your business. Sometimes you don't need people knowing all your junk. In fact, most times you don't need people knowing all your junk. There are times to just hold your tongue and let it go and deal with it on certain ends at certain points of time. Now, like I said, you're dealing with a very serious situation, very serious issue right now. Now is not the time to shrink away. If now is the perfect time to get away, get out of it. If you're one of those very strong women that I mentioned before, and you are known for saying what you need to say at the right time so the right people hear it, I'm not talking to y'all. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you just want to have some happiness, some sanity, some peace in your relationships right now, since we are all overly stressed, right now is probably not the time to bring up the fact that the socks are always left on the floor in the living room. or shoes are put on the bed, or you're late to different things, or you didn't clean up the trash can the way you wanted to, or something like that. Now is not that time. I'm not sure when that time will be, but right now it's probably not that time. Schedule that time if you need to work those things out. If there's serious things working on, work things out. There's a lot of people dealing with finances and kids and things like that. Work those into regular conversations. Don't just throw that on back to somebody's head when they're not paying attention. Now might be the best time to hold back that big thing that you really want to get off your chest, because with so many other things going on, it may be hard not to say the wrong words to the wrong person at the very right time, if you know what I mean. Thank you so much for all the responses I got to Tuesday's video. I will be doing some sort of emails to both the conversation podcast list and to the Jay Coon Pain list for this weekend, as things hopefully die down a bit, preparing for the Easter stuff. Thank you so much for popping in this one live or in the future. Let me know if you pop up in the future on a replay so I can shout you out there. Check out my man Sean and his crew on In the Black podcast, one of my favorite podcasts, and you will probably make it one of your favorite too. So make sure you don't stop listening to me. Keep listening to me, but listen to him too as well. And of course, like I said 2 days ago, share other people's art, share other people's work. A lot of people need to get some exposure right now, because there's a lot of people who literally can't be out there doing what they want to do. So share some work with people you love, and share some work with people maybe that you hate, that you have a vested interest in. Keep on sharing. And of course, thank you so much for being here. Some people didn't get the choice to wake up this morning. Some people have problems getting out of bed in general. So if you have the power to turn on a smart device and watch a video, you're having a pretty good day so far, and can have a pretty good day going forward. Hopefully it'll be a grand day. Let me know. If you need someone to talk to, reach out. Otherwise, as I said, these are sporadic, these are odd timed, and they're not actually, the odd thing is I have plenty of topics to talk about and not enough time to put into any serious work, but I'll do what I can, make it happen. Thank you so much for staying here. Thank you so much for just being you.